Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to something a little bit special. It's a game kind of special to me. Today, Stinson and I will be playing Avengers, or Captain America and the Avengers. Going to be playing on the Super Nintendo version. And, alright, so quick little backstory for me in this game. I think I played it first in the arcade, which is, where it came out first. And then, I want to say it was 1993, it finally came out in the Super Nintendo form, which is what I primarily knew it in. Because once I played it in the arcade, I had to have it at home. Had to be playing it. But it came out 1991, I believe, before that. And there were a lot of different versions of this game, some of which I never played. There was one for the Game Gear. There was one for the Sega Genesis, but there was also one for the Game Boy and Game Gear, which I always wanted that because I am a visually impaired person. So the Game Boy and Game Gear, for me, I had to be careful about which games I bought because games with a lot of reading or small, hard to see parts could get really annoying and kind of be useless to me. But this was something I actually wanted on the Game Boy because I figured I played the game before, it'd be pretty easy. But the truth is, I have no clue why I never got it. I know I never did. I was very sad about that. But, yeah. So, as you can tell, it's a pretty simple game. If you know anything about the comics, which I love Marvel Comics, I didn't really get attached to Avengers at first, just because, I don't know. I guess the best way to put it is my brother was kind of the Avengers person, and at the time, I knew Captain America was cool, and I kind of thought Iron Man was okay, because I really liked the cartoon. But the honest truth at the time was that I hated Thor, and Vision I always thought was kind of stupid. I don't know why. I just did. I was really picky as a kid, like pickier than I am now, especially when it came to comics. But yeah, as you can see, we are stuck in here against these two bosses. By the way, I'm Hawkeye, so yeah, that's why I'm doing better. But anyway, going back to Avengers is I really didn't actually get into those comics, I would say until well after high school. And I started trying to keep up with them. And the time I actually really started to follow Avengers and actually care about it was when they did the Avengers Disassembled storyline, which, was an amazing storyline if you've never read it. It kind of leads into House of M, which is one of my favorite, Quicksilver, storylines of all time for the Avengers. Actually, that was a big Marvel event. That wasn't just an Avengers storyline, but it had a ton of Avengers characters in it. But anyway, this game, you have 4 different choices, as you saw earlier. I like Hawkeye and Captain America, not for any specific reason. They pretty much all play the same, until you get to the flying parts when Cap and Hawkeye have to kind of jump on a machine to fly, and Vision and Iron Man can fly on their own. I don't actually think there's any real difference, though. To be fair, I don't believe there is. I haven't seen one, and I didn't read about one. I did do a little bit of research into this game. The things I researched that I found the most interesting were, of course, that, one, there is an NES version of the game. I had no clue. It's not like this. This is a beat-em-up, and I love beat-em-up games. I love the whole beat-em-up genre. Time to fight Whirlwind. Hell yeah. But yeah, so the beat-em-up, genre is really cool, but the NES version, maybe because of the graphics or just the engine or whatever, they changed it a lot and made it a platformer where you play as either Captain America or Hawkeye, and you rescue the other two. You rescue Iron Man and Vision, which I thought was kind of interesting. But I never actually got to play that one. So something I might do in the future just to see if I like it, because I really did like this game. I played this game a lot when I was a kid, and I swear I was better at it. Yeah, no, that's right. So obviously you have basic melee attacks, you have jump attacks, then by pressing 2 of the buttons at the same time you do your ranged attack, which is what you're going to use the most. And as you can see, for Cap, he has a shield, Hawkeye, his arrows, and then Iron Man and, this guy's annoying, Iron Man and Vision have laser things, which you can see right there. The Vision looks like he's throwing it, like, from his underarm. I'm not really sure what that exactly is. Like, maybe robots work weird with their lasers. See, when he's in the air, he looks fine doing it. I don't know what's going on with that. Anyway, so this is a pretty cool little game that they did. Stage clear. The main bad guy is the Red Skull. I doubt this video is going to be long enough for you to see us get to the Red Skull. He's pretty easy to get to. The game's not what I would call easy. It's easy to take damage. But, you know, we're, of course, using a system where we don't have to worry about putting money in. But back in the arcade, that would have been a problem.
America still needs your help.
The artwork's cool. I like the cheesy voiceover. It's very comic booky. I remember from playing the game as a kid, at one point you fight a really giant sentinel. Okay, go! And shot right off the bat. Wow. As you can see, the enemies get harder, and that's demonstrated by the color of the enemy. Very generic enemy models, but, you know, they fit the world, and they were fine. Also, before I forget to mention, in my research I found that there was another game that Data East is who makes this game, and they signed up to do 3 games, and the game that we're playing counted as 1. The different Nintendo version, even though it had the same name, it was also called Captain America and the Avengers, it counted as their second game because it was a different game apparently. But there was a third one called Avengers in Galactic Storm, which is not a good title, but I know it's because there was a comic, there was a Marvel comic called like Operation Galactic Storm or something like that. And this particular one was arcade only. It was a fighting game that featured characters from the Avengers and from Kree. Like, it had Kree fighters in it, which if you don't know, the Kree are just an alien race within the Marvel continuity. It's one of the infamous flying parts I was talking about. And this is actually pretty fun. But what was neat about it is I never played this game. I may see about trying to play it. However, it was the first fighting game that, instituted assist characters, or what some people in the fighting community call helper characters, which, where you're they come in and do like a double attack with you, or do an assisting attack. Anybody who's ever played like Marvel vs. Capcom, any of those style games, that's, what I'm talking about. So here we have a lovely little flight section that has different enemies, kind of odd robotic torpedo enemies. I like that even up here, Hawkeye's still trying to rely on his arrows. Hey, do what works for you. You have the power up there, which is Wasp. And she'll fly with you for a little bit. I think there's another power up, and if I remember correctly, Wonder Man shows up at some point in this game as well, which I'm not a big Wonder Man fan, so I don't really care. The game overall is a lot of fun, even if it's a little bit difficult. There's just something about beat-em-ups that I really enjoy, and this one, was based on a license that I know a good bit about, or at least enough that I can fake the rest. Another plane, hey. And when you can play a beat 'em up where you don't have to worry about lives, either, you know, if you have a main player or, you know, like in this case, use a code or something on Super Nintendo, like seriously, you know, that it's just so much fun. And beat 'em ups are like a very classic, just fun style to me. I haven't played them all by any stretch of the imagination, but I have certainly played a lot of beat 'em ups. I'm actually not sure what Wasp is doing right there. Alright, gone now. Doesn't matter. Figured I'd switch to Iron Man so we could have like dual lasers and not need one of the little contraptions to fly for a little while. I would be interested to see if the Sega version of this game was any different, but I looked and I couldn't find anything that blatantly was like, oh, you know, some games for the Sega versions actually had like less levels or extra stuff, but there was nothing like that. For those of you who may not have had the fortune of being involved in the horrendous Super Nintendo versus Sega war, you know, there's a lot of people who say the games are, many of the games are different enough that it's worth checking them out on the different systems. This may have been one that was a direct port, so there's nothing different about it. I'm not really sure. Like I said, if there was anything different, it must not have been enough for anybody to really make a big fuss over. Between the three of us, Dwight was the only one that owned a Sega, actually, during that time. I bought one later at a yard sale, and thought it was okay for what it was. I made the mistake of trying to get like the CD, Sega CD and 32X, and that was just I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, no, don't bother. If you want to see it, Angry Video Game Nerd has a really good video on the 32X and the Sega CD. Alright, so here's the Sentinel fight I remembered. And I don't know why Stinson is taking this sweet time to get back in here. Here we go. Alright, so Sentinel's half dead. I actually remember this being a cooler boss fight when I was a kid. Now I'm just looking at me, he's doing very basic motion over and over again. I wonder if this is where they got the idea for the Galactus boss fight at the end of, oh, game over. What? Oh well. So I guess we might not make it to Red Skull. I thought we had more lives than that. Whoops. Alright. Sentinel's dead. That's all that's important. That's all that you need to know. Anyway, I think this is a good place to kind of end this review as we wait and watch Stinson die with vision missing horribly. If you've never played this game, I recommend it wholly. Go pick it up, either for your Super Nintendo, your Sega, your emulator, whatever. However you have to do it, go play it. Fight the evil of Red Skull and, you know, America needs you or some shit, right?